Who's ready to play some Halloween 20 questions? Or, I guess, Halloween 31 questions, but who's counting? Friends, hello! Welcome back to Amethyst Craftworks. I'm Samantha, and today I have a spooky Halloween tag for ya. Now, I was tagged at least twice that I know of. Once from Heather, from my lovely friend Heather. Hi, Heather. She's the Crochet Witch, and I'll link her down below. And the other person that tagged me was Trish from Trish's Creative Treasures. Hi, Trish. Thank you both very much for tagging me. Trish will also be linked below as well. And I'm like so excited to do this tag. This is like me in a tag if ever there was one. I'm so stoked to be doing it. And I was really excited that I got tagged, not once, but twice. So thank you, ladies, for tagging me. I'm super pumped to get started here. There are 31 questions, so I'm hoping this maybe isn't a super long video, but I also can't guarantee it because it's one of my favorite subjects to talk about. Other than yard and yarn-related goodness, Halloween is like my other favorite thing to talk about. And so we've got 31 questions here, and I'm just gonna get started right now. Okay, starting with number one, your favorite horror or Halloween theme song. Now, I know that typo negative, I've mentioned them here many times. They're like very Halloween centric. They do have a song called All Hallows Eve. All Hallows Eve. I'm not gonna sing it for you because you don't want to hear it. But if we're going, I would say like mainstream, like well-known, not in quotes, well-known, well-known Halloween theme songs, it's got to be Thriller. It's number one, a great jam, but also includes a whole fantastic poem by Vincent Price, right? In like the middle of it. Darkness falls across the land. The midnight hour is close at hand. I could recite the whole thing. I won't. But I would say Thriller or All Hallows Eve by typo. But those are my choices there. So number two, name something that you wouldn't want to run into in a dark forest or an abandoned building. I feel like there's not anything that I would want to run into in either of those places. I think anything that I would run into would likely scare the pants off of me anyway. But I have this irrational fear. It mostly comes up when I'm taking the trash out at night, specifically like late at night where you're like in your alleyway behind your house. It's dark, especially in like these months now. It's cold. You're back there, you're just lugging bags and boxes and whatever else, around out there. And the thought always occurs to me, especially if I can see the moon somewhere up in the sky, is this would be the perfect time for like a werewolf to come and just, rah, and and get me. It like never fails to pop up in my brain when I'm doing the trash when it's garbage night. It's so stupid, but a werewolf, yeah, would likely be my answer there. Or just a guy. I mean, I don't think I would want to see a big buck or a big deer in the woods or an abandoned building. You wouldn't see one in an abandoned building. That would be even creepier. But yeah, in general, a werewolf. Like, no thank you. Okay, number three. Have you ever played with a Ouija board? Yes, I have. When I was a kid, yes. Would I now? No. No, 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 no. I am not in the habit of inviting bad juju into my life, and I feel like the Ouija board breeds bad juju. When I was a kid, though, We had the like actual game, like the board game version of a Ouija board, and yeah, we played with it, but no, now, no, no. Okay, number four. Your favorite horror monster or villain? It's gotta be Freddy Krueger. I love Freddy Krueger. And like one of my crochet like goals is to make a Freddy Krueger sweater eventually, maybe someday. My only thought is that it might not read Freddy Krueger to someone who doesn't like zero in on Freddy Krueger like I do, and that it would look like a Happy Christmas sweater. Which is not not my goal. But yeah, like a big oversized striped sweater, like yeah, for sure. Freddy Krueger, all the way Freddy Krueger. Number five, the creepiest thing that has ever happened to you when you were alone. So this is an actual like story time. So settle in. We've got a story time with Samantha here. This story happened several years ago. Like we're talking 10 or maybe even 15 years ago now. Gosh, I think maybe even longer, but I digress. So, as the story goes, when I was in my younger days, I was living with my best friend Lauren and her family, and she has two brothers and a younger sister and her mom. And at the time, I think it was me and my best friend, Lauren's mom, Lauren's younger sister, and Lauren's younger brother. And I think her older brother had moved out. I think maybe. That's either neither here nor there. So it was a big house and there were a lot of people in the house essentially. But the basement of the house was finished. It was a finished basement. It had like its own bathroom, a couple of bedrooms, a like bigger living area, and then a kitchen in the back there. Like it was a completely finished like apartment down there. And that's where Lauren lived. That's where her room was. And so when I was living with them, that's where I was. And then the top floor had, another kitchen, living rooms, bedrooms, so on and so forth. Okay. So when we were in the basement, just hanging around, living, doing what you do, the back room, kind of diagonal from where the bedroom was a laundry room. And really the only thing in there was like the washer and dryer and like, hampers or laundry baskets, that kind of stuff. And we would just kind of constantly hear movement, shuffling, like the distinct sound of like a hand or like something smacking the metal washer and dryer. And like just like one, and then like nothing. Or something would fall over and no one's back there. That kind of thing. Like things would just kind of go bump in the night back there. Okay, so keep that in mind too. And so in that time period, I was working mostly overnight shift. We both, Lauren and I, we both worked at, my other best friend too, all three of us worked at a nursing home. And so I worked mostly the 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift. So I can't exactly remember why I was actually asleep during the night because that rarely happened since I was always working overnights. Maybe I had the night off or something, I'm not really sure. But I was sleeping in Lauren's room and it was like the middle of the night, like dark, 3 a.m. kind of middle of the night. And Lauren's younger sister has a very distinct appearance in that she has bright platinum blonde hair, natural platinum blonde hair, like as platinum as you could ever think to bleach it, that shade of blonde hair. And so she's very easy to like, spot in the distance. Like you always recognize her. She's like dyed her hair twice or something like in her entire life. She's always been blonde. She's always been this beautiful, beautiful shade of blonde hair. And in the middle of the night, and one random night, I'm sleeping and I wake up and I roll over, and beside the bed is what I think is Lauren's little sister. I see blonde hair, bright white blonde hair, and in my kind of half asleep haze, I didn't really look closely, but I saw the hair kind of silhouetted in the moonlight and the outside light, and I, for whatever reason, thought that she was scared and wanted to get in bed with me. Because at the time she was quite young. She was maybe 12 or 13, maybe even younger than that. She was young. And so I thought maybe she's scared and she wants to get in bed. And so I was like, half asleep, and I'm like, okay, come on, get in bed. And I pulled the cover down on the other side of the bed that was closest to where I saw her standing, pulled the cover down halfway, and then I just sort of like rolled over and went back to sleep and didn't think anything of it. And so I woke up the next morning and rolled over again, expecting to see Lauren's little sister there, and there's no one in the bed. The cover is still folded down the way it had been when I had pulled it down for her. And no little sister to be seen. And so I was like, that's weird. And I apparently didn't move much during my sleep for the rest of the night because, again, the cover was pulled down exactly how I remember pulling it down. And I, went upstairs and was like, talking to the sister and to Lauren's mom, and was like, did you come down last night and like get scared and want to get in bed with me? And, she's like, no, I didn't. And so I didn't know really what to think of it. But then Lauren's mom had a similar experience with the same sort of situation where she saw a blonde girl beside the bed, and it just sort of looked like, she wanted to get in bed, that it was the little sister. She just sort of let her, and this time with Lauren's mom, she did get in the bed. And so, excuse me, I don't know if like Lauren's mom and I had the same exact dream, which seems not likely, or there was something else in that house, because like I said, there were a lot of people in the house, but we always heard like bangs and stuff in that back room when no one was down there, and we both saw the same sort of Lauren's little sister shaped apparition that wasn't really her. I don't know. But that was one of the creepiest things that's ever happened to me. And I was alone, because I was alone in the basement, in the finished basement at the time too. So that is my very long-winded answer there. But that's a fun story. It's a creepy story to tell. So anyway, moving on. We are on number 6. So if you were dared to spend the night in a haunted house, would you? You would think the answer to that would be no, but it's absolutely a yes. In my previous story notwithstanding, ghosts and like hauntings and stuff, they fascinate me. They terrify me, but they fascinate me like nonetheless. And so if I could have some kind of like documented paranormal experience like that, 100% I would spend the night somewhere that's like supposed to be haunted, or like a place that like offers like overnight tours or like ghost tours and things. Like that's definitely bucket list level something that I really want to do. So yes, absolutely. Number 7, are you superstitious? Yes and no. It's hard to say really, but there are some things that just like are ingrained to me that feel wrong to do, like walking under a ladder or opening an umbrella inside, like those kinds of things, or, throwing salt over your shoulder, that kind of stuff. I don't necessarily think I'm gonna have 7 years bad luck that kind of thing. But it still feels wrong to do, and so I don't do those things, or I do those things like the salt over the shoulder and that kind of stuff. But I yeah, I guess if I do believe in some things, then yeah, I guess I'm superstitious. Number 8. Do you ever see figures in your peripheral vision? Yes, I most certainly do. In fact, this happened very recently, like the most recent time that this has happened really recently. It was last weekend. I was on my computer, chit-chatting away with my best friend Lauren on Discord. I've got my headphones on, I'm like zeroed in on the computer screen. We're chatting away. And I do one of these, like a one of those into the into the microphone while we're chatting, and I was like, did you just hear me gasp? And she's like, yeah, what's wrong? And I told her that right over here, like almost directly beside my head, was a figure, and that it was almost like the side of like an arm and a hand, just kind of, beside me, like someone very tall was standing next to me. And so their hand and their arm like extended down right at their side, and it was just in my peripheral. Scared the crap out of me to the point that I did, the thing. And yeah, I see that frequently. In the house that I currently am living in, there's a front living room and then a back living room. And the back living room has like the kitchen and the bathroom and stuff off of it. And I don't spend a lot of time in the front living room, but I have to walk past it, like past the doorway, to get to the bathroom or to get to the kitchen and so on. And every once in a while, when I walk past that doorway, I will think I see a white figure in the front living room, or, I'll walk past and then, be like, oh, wait a minute, and walk back again just to make sure I didn't actually see anything, because I see them out of the corner of my eye pretty frequently. Anyway, so number 9. Now, number 9 was apparently an empty question, or like a skipped question in like the original tag. So Heather added in number 9 for herself as your favorite Halloween candy. Now, if we are talking like I went trick-or-treating and I'm trading candy, and these are the candies that I'm trading for, or I will refuse to trade away, then number 1 is probably Kit Kat. Number 2, very likely Milky Way. And then number 3, anything gummy. Gummy bears, gummy worms, gummy sharks, peach rings, gummy strawberries. I love gummy candy. So those are my favorite, like, candy from trick-or-treating candies. But if we're talking like actual like Halloween themed candies, like candy corn, or like those, I think Heather mentioned these in her video, those like vaguely peanut butter flavored ones that are, kind of round in the black and orange wax paper. Nah, no thank you. Give me the chocolate or the gummies. You can give me all the gummies. Sour Patch Kids, Swedish Fish, Dots. I love, I love gummy candy. So that's my favorite Halloween candy. Number 10. Do you prefer gore or thrillers? I would have to say probably thrillers, although I feel like there's a lot of overlap with like gory movies and also like suspenseful thriller movies. If the suspense is like murderer related, there's a lot of overlap there. But like movies that are strictly gory and bloody and gross, and those aren't really my cup of tea. I would much prefer thriller type movies. But I gotta be honest, like, if it's a scary movie, I'll watch it anyway, regardless of the amount of blood in it or not. Okay. Number 11. Do you believe in multiple dimensions or worlds? Yeah, for sure. I think it's almost more likely that there are than there aren't. There's just so much in this universe that you can't explain easily, and I feel like there's probably an infinite number of Samanthas out there in an infinite number of dimensions and worlds that exist. And, this current timeline version is probably the weirdest, let's just say that. But, there's probably multiple universes, multiverses out there. I believe it, like 100%. And that's really all I'm going to say about it. Number 12. Have you ever made a potion of any sort? Yeah. I mean, yeah. If you've ever, let's say, brewed yourself a nice cup of tea and you have used specific ingredients in that tea that may have a purpose to it. Maybe there are like specific ingredients that are known to give luck or give love or prosperity or for good health. And then you drink that tea with the intention of this is going to help me in whatever facet I am seeking assistance with. Then not only have I brewed potions, but so have you. Okay. Where are we? Number 13. Do you scare easily? Yes. Yes, I do. I scare so easily. Like, jump scares in like video games, it's a very common trope in video games is for jump scares. I get the whole, you know, every time. Like, and it's not also an unwanted thing either. Because I think I've mentioned here previously, I really like Five Nights at Freddy's. I specifically love watching people play Five Nights at Freddy's and those sorts of games that, Five Nights at Freddy's spawned a whole genre of animatronic horror games, and those are so chock full of jump scares that number one, get me every single time, and number two, I really enjoy them. So maybe it's a little bit of masochistic something, or, I just am weird and like to be scared, but I think it's fun. But yeah, I absolutely am like the jumpiest person you will ever meet, and I scare very easily. Of which my friends can attest to, for sure. Number 14. Have you ever played Bloody Mary? I can't say that I remember specifically playing Bloody Mary. I am positive I must have. It's kind of like a rite of passage, when you're young and you're having like a sleepover with your girlfriends. You do stupid stuff like Bloody Mary and the Ouija board, that like those kind of like sleepover things. So it's very likely that I did, but I don't remember doing it. And would I do it now? Heck no. As I said, I'm not in the habit of inviting bad juju, and Bloody Mary seems like she's got blood, well, yeah, but bad juju all over her. So, no thank you. I will take a nice pass on that, please. All right, number 15. Do you believe in demons or the devil? Yeah, for sure. In terms of bad juju spirits, for sure. I absolutely believe that there are like malevolent spirits that like just want to do harm. Absolutely. And that's what I would consider the devil or demons in that regard. Like inhuman, otherworldly, evil beings or creatures, like for sure. And so yeah, I believe in them. And so I'm gonna pause it here for just a sec. I need a drink of water. I've done a lot of talking here. And then we will continue on with number 16. So just one sec here. All right, we are back for more. I'm quenched. My thirst is has been quenched, and so we're ready to move on to number 16. And the question is, you're home alone and you hear footsteps. What do you do? So, I am of the opinion that if I heard disembodied footsteps when I didn't think anyone else was in my house, I don't know what my first thought would be. My logical brain says that's an intruder. Grab your mace, get the heck out. But my kind of illogical brain would be like, that's a ghost. You've got your house is haunted. I'm not sure which way I would go, but I would very likely grab my mace and get the heck out, regardless of which way my brain went with that. I haven't thankfully heard like disembodied footsteps in my house yet. Knock on wood. So we'll see. Okay. Number 17. You're trapped in a scary movie. What movie would it be? Now, my answer is The Conjuring. And really, that whole universe of movies would be my answer. So, The Conjuring movies as a whole. And it. So, I love those movies. Absolutely, number one. They are great movies. Very spooky, very scary. They've been great. But number two is that Patrick Wilson is so attractive, and I would love to live in a world where Ed Warren looks like Patrick Wilson and saves the day, and that's where my mind goes. I like the actual Warrens. Like, I loved Lorraine Warren on Paranormal State way back in the day. She was on there frequently. It was like a paranormal group from Penn State, which is, a university in my state, Penn State. They did like paranormal investigations, and they often had like psychics on to help mediums. And one was often Chip Coffey, who I also still love, and then Lorraine Warren, who was still alive at the time. May she rest in peace currently. And so I loved Lorraine Warren, and I love the Conjuring depiction of Ed Warren. They were strategic, let's say, in picking Patrick Wilson to play him because he's so handsome. But yeah, The Conjuring is my answer there. Number 18, if you could wear one Halloween costume for life, what would it be? So you would think my answer here would be a witch, right? Because I mean, I am one. But the reality of it is, I think even Heather said this in her answer too. I'm a witch every day. I don't need to be a witch for Halloween. So I would say Morticia Adams. She's like the holy grail, the ideal, the ideal goth lady. Like Angelica Houston's Morticia Adams, oh my God, is goals. If I could get away with one night a year wearing long black hair and like a very low cut, gorgeous, black dress, slinky dress, then yeah, for the rest of my life I would be happy to be Morticia Adams. if only for one night. Okay. Number 19. Have you ever visited a graveyard at night? Or conversely, I think the actual question was, would you visit a graveyard at night? And the answer is yes, I would. And yes, I have. And there's a whole story here too that since we're already chit-chatting about all kinds of stuff, let's talk about this too. So in my area, in my neighborhood, but not really my neighborhood, like the area in which I live, there is a one of those like haunted locations that like everybody knows about. You like hear about it from school or, from your friends and stuff. It's like one of those kind of places. And it's called Hanky Church. It has kind of a silly name, but it's Hanky, Hankey, Hanky Church. There is a cemetery attached to like a church and stuff, and it's way back in the woods. And the way you get there is kind of way out of the way. And the cemetery is mainly the big thing, where there's a tree stump shaped tombstone in this cemetery that supposedly kind of glows in the moonlight. It like is reflective, and it's, if you touch it, I think the whole thing was if you touch it, your hand gets cold, or you touch the tree stump gravestone and like something bad happens. Gosh, I can't even remember. It's been a very long time. But that's the whole like legend myth thing that's local to my area. And so I was spending a few nights with my best friend, Lauren, way back in the day. We were very young then too, like maybe 18 or 19 or so. And I had a brand new puppy whose name was Pom Pom, and she was a Pomeranian puppy, and she was quite young at the time. So I had just gotten her, and she came to spend the night with me at the bestie's house, for a few nights. And she was still young and still new and still small, so small and tiny and fluffy and sweet and adorable. Um, but I had brought her with me because, she was still young and I wanted to bring her with me. And so we were at her house, and I cannot tell you why we decided at like in the middle of the night to go to Hanky Church Road, to the Hanky Church Cemetery, and just check out the tombstone that looks like the tree stump. And Pom Pom, being a puppy, being a young puppy, would bark her head off if I left her alone. If I left her at the house and then left, she would like lose her mind and bark the whole time. And since it was in the middle of the night, I was respectful, at least, to say, Pom Pom's gonna wake Lauren's mom up. She's gonna wake up, her brother, her sister, whoever, if we go out and leave her here. So let's just bring her with us. And again, at the time, I had not had Pom Pom for very long. And so she was still young and we were still getting to know each other, the whole thing. So we start driving up to Hanky Church, and it's a little bit of a drive. It's a little bit way back in the woods, And I'm telling Lauren in the car, animals are supposed to be more sensitive to spirits and ghosts and things. If Pom Pom starts freaking out here, I'm gonna lose my mind. And so keep this in mind. And so we're headed off, we're driving along, and it's, like, I don't know, a 20-minute drive or so. I feel like, far enough away that it was a decent enough drive. And the road leading up to this cemetery is like, when you think creepy road, that's what this road looks like. It's like got big, massive trees to either side that are like, I feel like we went in kind of the colder months, maybe in late fall. I can't remember, but like the trees didn't have leaves on it. It wasn't like lush and overgrown. It was just like bare, dead trees all the way back to it. And, it was a long drive, so like I have plenty of time in my scaredy catness to like really freak myself out. I'm like nervous and scared and like, oh God, what are we gonna see? We're gonna see a ghost. I'm gonna touch it. It's gonna be horrible. Like that's the whole thing that's just going around and around in my mind. And we get to this intersection where if you turn one way, you go up to the actual cemetery, and then if you go the other way, you kind of just turn and go away from the church and the road and yada yada. I think it's actually turning onto Hanky Church Road itself. We get there, we're stopped, and Pom Pom just starts like freaking out. She starts kind of flailing around in my lap. She's acting like very like panting and like wide-eyed and like she's terrified. And then she starts to vomit, which I mean, gross, but also like she's vomiting all over me. And to say that I lost my mind is putting it lightly. I think some part of my brain broke. I was so scared. And I was like, we have to get out of here. Pom Pom's freaking out. She's seeing ghosts. Like, she sees something. She's terrified. She's throwing up. Get us out of here. And, like, panic, full blown panic. And so, even though I would not put it past Lauren to, like, turn and pull and, go up to the actual cemetery anyway, she thankfully, we just kind of drove off and left. And as I said, Pom Pom was still new to me. She was still very small and tiny. And so I did not know that she got car sick. I very quickly learned this after that any kind of lengthy car ride, Pom Pom would get car sick. And it had nothing to do with her seeing ghosts or freaking out or, not wanting to go up near this thing because she can sense bad. Like, no, it was none of that. Pom Pom got car sick, and that's what happened. And that was the first time it happened, so I had no idea it was a thing. And I think she was so young and small that she didn't know it was a thing. And so, but that's, visiting a graveyard at night. I then have since been to the actual graves. Like, I've seen the gravestone. I haven't touched it, but I've seen it. It does kind of reflect in the moonlight in the dark. It's light colored stone, so it just kind of looks bright anyway, like brighter than its surroundings. So there is that, but that's my graveyard at night story. Okay, on to number 20. Your zombie apocalypse weapon of choice. So I was trying to think of something that I would actually feel comfortable with and also like would actually be helpful. And I gotta say, like, I would not want a gun. Like, not only do I not want anything to do with guns, really, I'm kind of afraid of them. But in a zombie apocalypse, I feel like something that requires ammunition to work, not the way to go. I don't think anything that requires another separate thing that is in finite quantities is the way to go. I think something that you can use as like a melee weapon with a little bit of reach is probably your best bet. And so I would say either some kind of like baseball bat or a long plank of wood that maybe you could like hang chains off of or like nails, that kind of thing, or like a spear that you could just kind of poke from a distance. Like that would be kind of what I would go for because you don't need the ammunition, you don't need any other supplies to make it work to protect you. And you don't necessarily want to be close enough to a zombie to have to use your spiky bat, but I feel like if they were close enough, that's what I would want. So that's that's my answer. No ammunition. No ammunition for me. Number 21. Would you rather go to a Halloween party or go trick-or-treating? Well, that depends. If I'm of an appropriate age to go trick-or-treating, which is to say, like, if you put on a costume and come to my house and, you're 19 and you're trick-or-treating, I will 100% give you candy. If you are 45 and you have put a costume on and you come to my house for candy, trust I will give you that candy. Like there's no there's no age like limit in my opinion. But in the general consensus, it's a thing for kids. So if I'm of kid trick-or-treating age, then trick-or-treating for sure. If I'm my current age, I guess in the regard of going trick-or-treating would mean going trick-or-treating with my nieces, then yeah, trick-or-treating. Parties aren't generally my cup of tea unless they're family parties, and then I enjoy those. But I would say there's maybe a third option of handing out candy to the trick-or-treaters because that's what I would pick. I love handing out candy on Halloween. I love being the one that like gives you a good old handful of whatever whatever sweet treats. And I like seeing all the costumes and being the one to hand out the candy is so much fun. So that's actually my answer there is giving out the candy for trick or treat. All right, number 22. So, in a horror movie scenario, if you were in a horror movie, would you be the final girl, the first to die, the comic relief, the skeptic, the smart one, or the killer? So, in my head, I think I would think that I'm the comic relief. But in reality, I'm like the first to die or the scaredy cat, which is not even listed there. If there's like running involved with anything like zombies or like there's a Freddy Krueger's coming for me or like Michael Myers or something is chasing me and there's running involved, I'm the first to die for sure. But I think in my head I'd be like, I'm totally the comic relief, but no. No, you're really the one that's gonna die first. Number 23. So, do you need to watch something happy after watching a horror movie to be able to go to sleep? Yes. Absolutely. In fact, there's a specific thing that I do like to watch when I need like wholesome, happy, fun, lighthearted, save me from the scary monsters kind of thing, and it's a YouTube channel. They're called Shoe and Tree. I will link them down below because it's like a Japanese dog groomer who like grooms these adorable little foofy dogs in Japan, and it goes from like all the way from before the whole grooming and the dogs are like prancing and happy and playing, and then they get a bath and the bath is nice and relaxing and they get like a head massage and it's great, and then they get groomed and they look like little teddy bears and like lions and stuff. It's so wholesome and so cute and so happy and like bouncy and yay and oh it's so cute. And so yeah, that's my go-to when I'm feeling like a scaredy cat at the end of the night after a Halloween Halloween movie marathon, a horror movie marathon. It yeah, happy dog grooming videos. Okay, number 24. While you're watching something scary, are you the type of person that yells at the characters? You have your eyes covered the whole time, or you're the kind of person that falls asleep? I would say I'm kind of a combination of yells at the characters on the TV screen and also has their eyes covered the whole time. Because, like I said, I love scary movies. I love watching them, but they also really scare me. But I also am like the type of person that would be like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. Or like, why on earth would you go into that insane asylum at 3 a.m.? Like, that kind of thing, right? So, falling asleep, not so much. But yelling at the TV screen and also like being like absolutely terrified, yeah, that's me. Number 25. Are you the person that gets scared or does the scaring? 100% I am the one that gets the no, that gets scared. That gets the scaring is what I was going to say. Absolutely. Like case in point, I have another story here. A couple of weeks ago, Bestie Lauren was over here. I was walking some stuff out to her. She was in her car like in front of the house, and I was walking like a bag of, I don't even remember what I had for her, but it was something. And in my front yard, I have some very big bushes. Like we're talking like 8 foot tall, super huge, like it's big and bushy kind of bushes in the summertime. And it blocks my view to either side of the walkway that goes down to the sidewalk. And so she was out of her car and standing behind one of the bushes, and I could not see her. It had completely like shielded her. It was so thick and full and tall. And I get maybe 95% of the way down my walkway and she just appears from behind the bush, and I do one of those. I drop the bag that I had for her. Like, not only am I the kind of person that gets scared, but I also have the kind of friends that like to do the scaring to you when they know you're jumpy. So, yes, I am always on the receiving end of the scares. I don't think I have ever purposely gone out and scared someone, except for one time. One time on Halloween, even I gave out candy at other best friend Jen's grandma's house, and I had a robe with a hood on and one of those masks that go over your face that's like black solid fabric that you can see out of but no one can see in. And I gave out candy in that with like the candy bowl on my lap, like I was a prop, like a decoration for Halloween because you couldn't see my face, and I had like gloves on and stuff. And I think we even put like straw or newspaper like in the sleeves of my shirt and stuff to make me look like I was a stuffed dummy. And then the candy bowls in my lap. And every dozen or so kids, I would like move my hand and like grab the candy first, or startle startle the kids. I did do that. I will admit to that, although that was really fun, I have to say. But in general, I'm not the one that does the scaring. I'm the one that gets scared. Anyway, number 26. Your favorite scary book. So I would say it actually lives all the way up there, is the book, but I brought it down because I wanted to show you. It is this book. Hex. Can you see it? Hopefully the light isn't taking it out too bad. And I have no idea how you pronounce this author's name, so hopefully you can see it. If I can find it on Amazon or something, I will link it down below. Hex was a really good book. It is very unnerving. It's kind of like suspensefully scary while also being like in your face scary. And I really enjoyed it. Although, if you're familiar with the show Friends, with the episode with Joey, and I think he has The Shining and Little Women, he's reading them. And whenever he reads The Shining and gets scared, he puts it in the freezer. And whenever he's reading Little Women and he gets sad, he puts Little Women in the freezer. This book was one of my I gotta put this in the freezer kind of books because it really did unnerve me quite a bit. It's really good though. It's about a town with a witch. Is really all I'll say to it, but it's very good. Highly recommended. It is very spoopy. So if you like spoopy books, it's on that vein. And yeah, I'll link it down below if I can find it on Amazon, which is likely, I think that's where I got this anyway. But yeah, that's my favorite scary book. Number 27. How old were you when you saw your first horror movie? Now, I can't remember specifically how old I was the first time I saw a scary movie. However, how do I word this? I don't remember the first movie, the first scary movie I ever saw, but the first scary movie that I remember seeing, if that makes sense, was the House on Haunted Hill remake. It came out, it was either in the late 90s or the early 2000s. I think I was 14 or 15 or something when it came out. It had Chris Kattan and like Tay Diggs and Captain Barbosa, who that from Pirates of the Caribbean. I can't remember his actor's name. I can't off the top of my head, but it had them in it, and it scared me so badly that it, like, first of all gave me a lifelong fear of like insane asylums, sanatorium, I think is the word, like insane asylum themed things being something that I'm very afraid of. And also like scarred me for that movie specifically. Just like I was, yeah, I want to say I was like 14 or 15, and it was like I was in my bedroom, wide-eyed, staring at the ceiling with, like the covers pulled up and, like, like the night after. Like, I was so scared. I honestly think I got up and went and slept with my mom in my mom's bed. I was so scared. Like, that level scared. Like, you're a little kid level scared. And it also became like a meme with my friends. And that not only is House on Haunted Hill one of the movies that scares me the most, even to this day, but it is also one of the scary movies that I have seen more times than I can count. And it's because it became like a let's watch Manth. Manth is the the nickname that all my friends call me. So let's watch Manth watch this movie because she's so scared, right? Like I've seen it so many times. So like 14, 15 is the earliest that like the earliest scary movie that I can remember being scared of. But I don't think that's the first scary movie I ever saw. But that's my answer there. So we're going to go with that. Number 28, in the same sort of vein there, your first Halloween costume. I cannot for the life of me remember what I was in my very first Halloween. When it was Halloween, when I was alive for the first time, that's a real weird way to say it. When Halloween hit in my first year of existence, I would have been 8 months old. So, not trick or treat, cute costume, make the kid pose and all that stuff. I don't remember. I don't remember what I was. I'm sure maybe pictures exist somewhere of it, but I don't have them and I don't remember. The first costume that I do remember, though, is I actually have a picture of it. Can I? There we go. Look at little me. So I think I was probably, there's no date on the back, like this is a picture of my grandmother's. So I don't know. Usually she was pretty good at putting dates on the backs of pictures. But if I had to guess, I'm probably 4, 5 in that picture. And my grandma on my mom's side made Halloween costumes for me and my younger cousin all through our life. Now, I don't know if you can tell, but the hat specifically, the stem hat and like the face on the pumpkin, he looks quite homemade. So I think maybe this was a pumpkin that my grandma then embellished, maybe. But in later years, she made us our costumes, me and my younger cousin, to the point that like going to Joanne Fabrics, like at the end of summer, to pick out patterns and pick out fabrics to make our Halloween costumes with my grandma was such a fun thing. But I unfortunately can't ask her anymore. She's no longer around. And I think she maybe embellished an existing pumpkin costume because parts of that look, homemade. But that's the first costume that I genuinely remember. I think it's the earliest costume that I have a picture of is little little me in the costume. It's a cute picture. I think I am probably 4 or 5 there if I had to guess. It's hard to tell though. But that's the first Halloween costume that I can remember, but I'm not sure what I was that very first Halloween. All right, we are in the home stretch, number 29. This is an easy one. What are you being for Halloween this year? Beetlejuice. I've shown off my sweater lots of times here, when I was working on it, when I finished it. I still have yet to get like a Beetlejuice t-shirt to wear under it, but that's my Halloween costume for this year. If I get to participate in Halloween, I still don't know if Halloween trick or treat is on the Monday of Halloween or if it's the weekend before, but we'll see. Number 30. So if you could have a spooky Halloween pet, a black cat, an owl, a bat, a rat, or a wolf, which one would you choose? A cat, a black cat. And honestly, I would like to have 3 black cats, okay? One would be named Cobweb, 2 would be named Binks, and 3 would be named Salem. And they would be my 3 little familiars, and it would be fantastic. Although, having a wolf as a pet, I would no longer be afraid of the werewolf when I'm taking my trash out. I would love to have a bat, an owl. I would have a rat too, like a crow. I would love to have a Matthew of my own. And if you know, you know with Matthew. Like any of these pets would be fantastic. But as you all know, I just have my little dog Ralphie, who maybe thinks he has the mind and body of a wolf, but he does not. He does not. But yeah, black cats like Salem, Binks, and Cobweb would be like my little trio of familiars, and it would be great. And so, number 31, the very last one. This one is a question that Heather added to the list because it was 30, although it was technically 29, I think, because one was skipped. And then 31, like Halloween month has 31 days. Why not 31, questions? And so if I haven't skipped any, which I don't think I have, we'll see, hopefully. Hopefully I haven't. But the 31st question is, what is your favorite supernatural or paranormal creature or being? And this one has taken some time, but I think in general, ghosts are very likely my favorite and also what I'm most afraid of, which seems like a weird dichotomy there to be your favorite but also like I hate it, right? I also really like vampires, like Anne Rice and her Vampire Chronicles. Such a big part of my like goth teen growing up. I love vampire stories. I love witches too. I mean, of course I love witches, but are witches considered like supernatural or paranormal? I guess they could be, although maybe they're more fantastical than paranormal. But I think ghosts are very likely my favorite. I'm like so drawn to like ghost stories and like spooky haunting stuff and also absolutely terrified of it that I think I have to pick ghosts pretty much. They are my favorite spooky creature. Are they creatures? I guess humans are creatures and ghosts once were humans, so maybe. Anyway, that's all the questions. We have got all the questions answered. And so the last part here is to tag some people to do it yourself. So number one, I will say if you are watching this and you want to join in on the Halloween fun times, please do. The questions will be down below. Take them, answer them, do a video, tag me in the video. I want to see. Or if you want to just answer them in the comments, feel free to. But I'm also going to tag the same two people that I tagged the last tag, which didn't work out so hot, but we're doing it again. Maybe this time it will be more up their alleys. I'm tagging Altknots, Kayla, and Craig from Fiber Spider. Hello, my friends. If you see this, do this tag. I would love to hear your answers. And I think that's everything else. If I forgot anything, it'll all be linked below. No worries. And so I thank you so much for joining me here today for this. This was so much fun. I love Halloween. I love talking about Halloween, and hopefully you do too, or else you would not have watched a very long video about it. And if you liked it though, give me a thumbs up and let me know. And if you haven't already, please subscribe because I would love to have you join us here. And I appreciate you spending your time here with me, and I thank you very kindly for doing so. And until next time, goodbye.